It was the kind of summer night that glued your shirt to your back. Midnight had come and gone, but the heat still sat on the street like a sleeping animal. Through the open window, I could hear sprinklers ticking, a distant train, and cicadas sawing the dark in half. I was on the couch because the bedroom air conditioner had died and the fan only pushed warm air around. My phone lay face down, trying not to glow. I was almost asleep when the music started. It was an ice cream truck jingle. Not the bright little melody from childhood, but a slowed, drifting version of it, as if somebody had recorded the song and played it back through a fish tank. I sat up. No kids were out at 12:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. I pushed the blinds aside with 2 fingers and peeked into the cul-de-sac. The truck came around the circle without headlights, white sides chalky under the street lamp, a crooked "Watch for Children" sign glowing like a smile. The jingle clicked once between phrases, like a record catching. It rolled to a stop right in front of my house. My phone vibrated on the coffee table, motion at your front door. The preview thumbnail was my porch, Matt, Fern, the dead moth I still hadn't swept away, but the timestamp in the corner read 12:51 a.m., and the image showed my door already open and my own bare feet on the threshold. I was still on the couch. The screen stayed frozen like that until the jingle hiccuped and restarted, a half step lower, and the thumbnail refreshed back to a closed door and my empty porch. The street was hushed in a way that made sound heavy. No dogs. No TVs. The truck's serving window slid up with a dry metal yowl. Cold air dropped out and made a white layer around the wheels. I could see a figure inside, just an outline. Tall, paper hat, apron. The speaker by the window crackled. "Maya," it said, using my name in a voice exactly like my father's. My father has been in Arizona for years and never once called me from an ice cream truck. "We've got the rocket pops you liked," the voice added. It had the cadence of an old tape, perfect tone and wrong timing. Another notification from the app. Your neighbor's Ring shared a clip. Mateo's porch across the street appeared. His camera caught the truck sliding into place. Only on his, the decals weren't faded. They were bright. Cartoon animals licked neon cones. The little price numbers had sent signs you almost never see now. And the voice, his clip had a different voice, said his name, then his kids, then recited their exact house number and the color of the bike currently lying in their driveway. Mateo texted the block thread. "Anyone else hearing this? Don't go outside." I opened the front door 1 inch and latched the chain. Pete Preston. The truck was close enough that I could see drops of condensation sweating down the metal, collecting in a cup screwed below the freezer vent. The paper-hatted shape leaned to the little bell. It didn't ring it. It tapped the counter beside it in a rhythm. 1 2 1. Pause. 1 2 1. The jingle thinned and left only a slow glockenspiel ping 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 like water on glass. "You fell asleep on the porch once," the clerk said, still my father's voice. "Remember? Your mother had to carry you inside. It was this hot." The way he said this hot sounded like he remembered sweating, too. Down the block, Lena posted a photo of her porch. The truck had stopped there first, apparently. In her clip, the window held not a person but a row of neatly wrapped bars, all the same shape, all labeled in tiny black block letters. No cartoon SpongeBob faces, no Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with gumball eyes, just white paper, string, a stamp, passed. The clerk in her audio didn't use her name. It said, "All flavors. No charge. Just say it." Say it meant say your name. Under her photo, Lena wrote, "Do not say your name to it." Emotion at the far edge of my vision made me flinch. Ben from number 7, the kid who rides his scooter barefoot even on gravel, had his face pressed to his living room window. Blue light from a paused video washed his cheek. He lifted his phone to film. The jingle snagged and reversed for a beat, a handful of notes running backwards, like the recording had folded. "Ben," said the voice from the speaker, perfect small-town ice cream guy now, patient and friendly. "You were up anyway, right? Bring exact change, buddy." I pulled my door wider. "Ben," I hissed across the dark and realized how useless a hiss is at 40 feet. I stepped onto the porch. The air had a refrigerated edge now, like a grocery store aisle door had been left open. The man in the paper hat finally leaned into the light. He had a face, technically, a nose as simple as punctuation, a line for a mouth, eyes like someone had pressed 2 coins into soft clay. He wasn't looking at me so much as facing my direction. The window was stacked with treats I didn't recognize. No brand names. No pictures. Each had a rubber-stamped word. June. Pool. Sprain. Meteor shower. Blue blanket. Ice fog clung to them and dripped. What happens if we buy one? I asked. My voice sounded like I'd borrowed it from a drier throat. The clerk's coin eyes didn't move. You don't buy, Maya, he said. Now it was my own voice coming back at me from college, then junior high, as if the speaker had a playlist of me. You return. A new clip hit the chat, from Kara at number 3. On hers, the clerk's hat had a pin like a tiny clock. The hands didn't mark time. They pointed at numbers that changed when the jingle hiccuped. He's saying my mom's lullaby, Kara typed. I can smell her lotion. The truck's serving shelf slid out another inch on my side, a polite little offer. A small paper-wrapped bar slid forward by itself. Its stamp read, under porch. When I didn't touch it, the truck sighed frost and tucked it back. The paper-hatted head cocked a degree, listening. I said, because I needed to puncture something. Everybody knows an ice cream truck isn't supposed to run this late. It felt like a weak rule compared to what the night wanted. This route runs only in heat advisories. The clerk answered, now a woman's voice, warm and careful like a nurse. We make allowances when people can't sleep. Something changed down by the corner. The streetlight flickered and steadied, and in that flicker I saw more than one set of legs under the truck, a forest of them, like and not like the first two. Behind the serving window a second hat passed, and a third. Each had the same shape, stamped out of different noise. My doorbell camera buzzed again. Person detected. The new thumbnail, honest this time, showed me on my porch. The jingle softened to a hush, and the speaker lowered its volume like a hand on a child's forehead. We can make it what it was, the clerk said. No storm. No siren. No missed call. The paper-wrapped bars fumed quietly. The word stamps blurred like ink bleeding. When the mist cleared, the stamps were names. Mine on one. I shut the door on the chain and spoke through the crack. No. The clerk did not argue. It changed tack with the easy pivot of a person who has practiced pressure. Then tell your neighbors, Maya. Back to my father's voice. When the music plays, do not answer with a name. Ask for water, if you must. Ask for directions. Ask for the time. But do not name yourselves. For a heartbeat, I believe the warning was a favor. Ben's living room went dark. An adult silhouette filled his window now. Good. Somebody had grabbed him, finally. The truck began to roll without the engine changing tone. A gliding departure, the jingle climbing back up to its normal key as if relieved. It paused at number 12, the house that's been empty since March. The porch light there flicked on by itself. The window slid open. The clerk set a single bar on the step, stamped keys, and waited as if for a ghost to come collect. After a minute, quietly, it picked the bar up, tucked it back, and moved on. When it reached the end of the street, it didn't turn. It just narrowed. The truck grew thinner like heat shimmering, then was gone. The music tapering into the cicadas until I couldn't tell where one ended. The air lost its cold edge. The porch heat reasserted itself with a sigh. My phone dinged one last time. A photo sat in my messages without a number attached. My porch from the truck's point of view, my face grainy in that sodium light. In the photo, my hand was reaching, but I hadn't reached. Under the picture, see you on hot nights. I didn't sleep. I turned on every fan and filled a bowl with ice and pressed my wrist to it and sat on the floor with my back against the door. I went back through the ring history until the thumbnails blurred into a bright smear and paused on the one with my feet on the threshold. I zoomed until the pixels were little cities and still couldn't see a seam. Just me, a second from a choice. In the morning, I walked the circle. No truck prints, no melt puddles, but on every porch, tucked under mats or slipped into flower pots, I found a neat, white order ticket, stamped with a rubber date that didn't exist yet and a line for a name, blank. I threw mine away. It was back on my mat by lunchtime, damp at the edges as if it had sweated through the heat to get home. If anyone asks about the music on nights when the air refuses to thin out and the cicadas drown out the TV, I tell them, don't say who you are. Don't even think it in the doorway. Ask for water, ask for directions, ask for the time. The truck doesn't push. It waits. And it is very patient with people who can't sleep. The heat didn't drop with the sun. It just got darker and thicker, like the night had a weight. I pulled into the Starlight 66 Drive-In, one of those last-of-its-kind places where the screen is a white barn and the gravel pops under your tires. It was the last weekend before they shut it for good. Paper lanterns hung from the concession awning, moths orbiting like they had somewhere better to be. I'd come alone because everyone else said it was too hot for a movie. The attendant at the gate tore a red ticket and waved me to row D. "Tuned to 87.7, she said, voice flat through a smile she wasn't wearing. I found a spot with a speaker post long since retired and rolled my windows down an inch. Cicadas sawed at the edges of everything. On the radio, a cheerful organ loop. "Welcome to the Starlight." One of those intermission jingles from the 60s. The showtime was 10 minutes off, but the jingle kept restarting like it didn't know how to stop. A boy in a pickup 2 rows up climbed into his bed with a folding chair. A couple to my left clinked glass water bottles and argued quietly about whether the screen leaned. The organ cut. A voice came through the radio like a person's breath fogging glass. "Hello, Aria." I froze at my name. My phone did not light up. The screen still showed a dancing hot dog smiling toward the lobby. The voice went on, easy as a concession cashier. "Blue Civic, row D, spot 3. Windows down 1 inch. You're just in time." I turned the radio volume down. The voice didn't get quieter. It spoke at the same level, as if it were in the car's air, not the speakers. "Enjoy the cool," it added, because the night was a joke. The cartoon hot dog stopped mid-wiggle and pointed off-screen. The picture changed to a grainy aerial shot of the lot, like from a drone or a crane or a memory. There were all our cars, little beads on a black bracelet. A rectangle blinked around mine. I lifted a hand without thinking, then caught myself. The radio voice soothed, "Do not wave." My stop gesture turned into a useless scratch of my cheek. A man in a minivan 2 rows over waved at the screen anyway. On the screen, his waving slowed, then repeated, then got ahead of itself until there were 3 of him, all in different stages of the same wave, and the last one didn't blink. A girl in a paper cap and a striped apron walked the rows with a tray like Starlight always promised on their retro posters, though I'd never seen a real car hop before. Her cap was too white. Her shoes left no print where the gravel ought to remember. She stopped at my fender and leaned down, not quite peering in. The radio's voice was her voice now, aligned with her mouth, but late by a syllable. "Would you like to try Channel B?" she asked. "Better sound." Her lips said better sound, and the radio repeated it 5 beats later. The pickup kid twisted his knob. "B," he said. His radio clicked. He went very still. His folding chair didn't squeak when he shifted because he didn't. A moth swam the projector's light like a tiny swimmer trying to cross a river. For a second the beam reversed, shadow running toward the projector, not away, then snapped back. The intermission clock appeared, a cool, silver circle counting down from 10 o'clock. It ticked 12 seconds, then jumped back to 10 o'clock as if it couldn't bear progress. The couple to my left laughed without amusement. "It's broken," he said. "It's a bit," she said. The radio sighed through the vents. "Stay parked. Windows up. Remain on Channel A." I put my windows up the rest of the way. The heat tried to bloom, but the air coming through the vents was cold, colder than the AC I couldn't afford to fix could ever manage. Text from the Starlight number, one I'd signed up for years ago for half-off popcorn, buzzed my phone. "Weather alert. Please remain in vehicles. Staff en route." The intermission hot dog slowed to a stop and smiled with teeth the cartoon never used to have. On screen, the aerial returned, closer. The blinking box around my car pulsed with the radio's breath. "Attendant approaching row D," the voice said. The girl in the cap had multiplied. 3 striped aprons moved across the gravel in the same step, but not the same time, as if the film ran at 3 slightly different speeds. Knuckles on glass, polite, tap tap, pause, tap. The intermission clock ticked to 9:17, then up to 9:19, then down again. I kept my hands flat on the wheel like I was being pulled over. Through the windshield, the girl's face hovered where faces go. It had all the parts, but the parts didn't sit quite together. The eyes didn't agree on a focus. Her mouth didn't move, but the radio did. "We can help you cool down." A new voice came through on top of hers, low and familiar. "Aria, unlock the passenger side." It took my brain a beat to place it. My mother's voice from a recording she sent me ages ago, the one where she mispronounced the name of my new street and laughed. Don't be stubborn, it added. That voice always knew which button to push. On the screen, the dancing hot dog pulled a little paper boat from behind its back. Inside, 3 white bars, stamped with rubber letters. June, power out, blue blanket. The cartoon picked up blue blanket and bit it. People in cars clapped because the cartoon paused like it wanted applause. The clappers didn't stop clapping when other people did. Their hands kept making the shape until the motion smudged and left their arms at a different angle than their shoulders would allow. The radio voice, no longer the girl, no longer my mother, became calm and professional again. Rule reminder, it said sweetly. Do not wave. Do not clap. Do not change channels. The pickup kid turned his knob back to A with a snap. His chair squeaked like a small animal trying to live. He breathed like a person who'd been underwater too long. He looked at me, not at the screen, and mouthed don't. I swallowed the urge to honk. The intermission clock landed on 8:08 and stayed. Out near the trees, a truck I hadn't seen coming let its high beams flare and go, as if testing the dark. When their light hit the back of the screen, I saw the seams, panels bolted to a frame, a ladder up the spine. There was a service road past the trees, a slice of black, barely there. I put the car in reverse and the radio cooed. Please remain in lane. I put it in drive and let it roll forward a foot, then back 2, 3, enough to feel like a thought, not a declaration. The girl tilted her head with the leveling interest of a bird. We don't recommend leaving while the program is in progress, she said, vowels a hair too round. The AC vent breathed, stay. I clicked off the radio. The voice stayed, a whisper at the edge of hearing like murmur in a church. I turned the knob between stations and let static flood the car like rain. The whisper thinned but didn't go. It rode the static. Aria. It tried again, patient as a nurse. I backed slowly past the sleeping speaker posts, careful on the gravel, careful not to panic and sink. The screen tried one last shape, a live shot of the lane I'd chosen from somewhere over my roofline, me moving in it, a second ahead. It showed my brake lights flash, and then mine did. It showed my left turn, and then I left. The trees accepted me, then closed. The service road had not been there on the way in, but it was now, lined with weeds gone crunchy in the drought. In the rear view, the 3 car hops were still where they'd been, then they weren't, like a bad edit. The hot dog waved on the screen, and I let it wave without me. The Starlight organ restarted itself behind the trees and kept playing for the cars that stayed, or for the ones already on the film. At the end of the service road, a chain lay coiled by a post with a sign in faded paint, staff only. I rolled over it. The chain rattled with a sound like laughter cut short. A neon open sign in the concession stand flickered, then burned to OP and died. I drove until the radio hiss softened into the steady noise of tires, and the cicadas gave me back my head. At the gas station 2 exits down, the cashier asked how the movie was without looking up. It was hot, I said, which was true. The receipt printed with a little extra line the machine didn't usually make room for. See you next heat wave, in a font I knew from the Starlight marquee. I folded it small and left it on the counter. Outside, the night had the tired sweetness of a carnival packing up. On nights since, when the air won't move and the cicadas stitch the dark together so tight nothing gets through, sometimes a far organ jingle gets in under the noise, the old promise of cold in exchange for a small gesture. I keep the radio off. I do not wave. I do not clap. And when my name comes from the vents in the voice of someone I miss, I roll the windows down the 1 inch the night can have and let them say it into the heat until the heat swallows it whole.